In this set of slides, we're looking at making notes about our technical analysis, our observations, and putting annotations on the price charts. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm recording this because what I'll try to do is edit this little bit and put it up on the web for those who couldn't participate tonight and see it, and make it generally available for BullCharts users in the user forum. In this discussion, we're looking for stocks in which to invest, and what we'll probably do is we'll look for a price chart, and we'll want to record our analysis and observations, and then at some stage in the future revisit the notes to see how things have panned out and maybe revise or update our observations and notes. But one of the things to think about, especially for new users, people who are either new to technical analysis or new to BullCharts, they might be wondering what sorts of observations we're talking about and what are the options available to actually record those details and keep them for review another day. And I should mention, as I always do with my presentations, there's no advice tonight. This is general information only for your education. No advice. We're not recommending that you take any actions based on anything you see tonight. Let's for a moment just think about, get our frame of mind right. We're going to be looking at analysing the charts from a technical analysis point of view and looking to make notes for future reference. The first thing we'll do is we'll have a look at a sample. We'll have a look at a couple of charts for a stock, a company called AAD is the code, it's Ardent Leisure, and it's as at the 6th of August. So that's a few months ago, not immediately current. The charts will show some different technical analysis observations. We'll look at two versions of a weekly chart and a daily. We'll also look at Weinstein's approach. Stan Weinstein, who, when he did his book back in the late 80s, recommended that we look at a 30-week moving average on a weekly chart and stage analysis. So we'll have a brief look at that. We'll also look for levels of support and resistance on both the weekly and the daily chart. So let's have a look at those slides and talk through these observations and how we might record them to help us make some decisions about whether the stock is something we should invest in or maybe keep on watch and look at making a decision sometime down the track. This chart of AAD is a weekly, a line chart from early on the chart there is 2012 over a 2-year period, 2.5 years. And we can see on here that the stock has been trending higher and a green trend line under the price action has got steeper in early 2013, and that this year, as of about March, April, May, the stock has dipped to a similar price level on a couple of occasions at what could be a support level. So looking at a weekly chart, we've got some observations. We might be thinking that it could be investable, but what we want to do is record our observations somehow. And that's the big question. In this second version of a chart, a weekly chart of AAD, we're looking at something a little bit different. We've got a 30-week moving average on this weekly chart sitting under the price action. That's a la Weinstein. And we've got the stage analysis ribbon showing stage 2 in green. The yellow is stage 3. And for the last few months here, until 6th of August, there was stage 2 again. In the bottom portion of that chart, we've also got RSI, and we can see the RSI there fluctuating below the 70 level, breaking above and falling away. And we could make an observation about that, but what we want to do is record that observation somewhere. So what options have we got for making those notes and recording the observations? On this next chart, it's AAD again, but it's a daily version. So we've zoomed right in to just the last few months. So it's May, roughly May onwards, May, June, July, and into August of this year. and we can see that the price peaked at about $2.75 and trended lower into August. At this point, what we might see on the chart is that the price is sitting above recent support at about $2.45, and we might ask ourselves, is the price likely to stay above this support level, or might it fall below it? So at this point in time, what we might want to do is make an observation along those lines and record it somewhere and come back and revisit it, maybe in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or in a month's time. So once again, the question we're asking is, how can we best record these observations for future reference? When it comes to recording observations, there are some options, and some of them are obvious. Some of them are perhaps not as clever as others, but let's quickly have a look at what they are. The first possibility is that we could make notes on paper in a notebook. Now today with computers we probably won't do that, but that's an option. We could have a look at the price chart and print the chart and make notes on that printed copy. That's doable, it's possible, we might want to do that. The third option, which is what most of us probably tend to do, is on screen draw trend lines and support lines on the chart. Then what we might do is screen print it to capture the image and file it away ready for reference another day. So there's a possibility. The other thing that we can do, and what we tend to do with BullCharts though, is number 4, and that is in the charting software we utilize the features of the software to remember the on-screen lines and comments and do that automatically for us. And in BullCharts, of course, that's how most of us do it most of the time. But, point 5 there says, but there are some complications that some people might encounter. And the but is this. On the 3 slides that we looked at, there were some annotations or comments on each of them, and if we tried to put all of them onto one chart, it might be very messy. Now, on this chart I'm showing now, just got to, okay, good. Everyone's there, good. On this chart I'm showing now, go back, try again, here we go. On this chart that I'm showing, it's actually a combination of the 3 charts I showed earlier with all of the annotations all put onto the one chart. And it's a little bit messy, but it's not bad. It's still legible. It's got the stage analysis ribbon across it, got RSI in the lower portion, and the comments indicating trend lines and support levels. So that's not too bad. But in some circumstances, like this chart I'm showing now of BHP, and it's a daily chart, there are a lot of annotations there. A lot of annotations there, and it's a bit messy. Now this is BHP, it's a daily chart, and there's a number of features in this chart that I've indicated just as an example and tried to flag what's actually happening to the price and in conjunction with momentum and all sorts of things. And in that particular case, it might be a whole lot easier and nicer if I was to split out some of the analysis and store it all separately. And sometimes it's quite feasible and reasonable to do that. Let's have a look at sample number 2. I'm just going to pause for a moment and check that the network's running okay. It looks like it is. In sample number 2, we've had a look at CBA, Commonwealth Bank, and we've decided to make a purchase, buy some shares, and the first thing we want to do is record the details about the trade. We want to record the buy price, the quantity we bought, and our initial stop loss. And there are a number of ways to do that. And the way I've done it in this example is in BullCharts, I've put a few things on the chart. I've put a text box with some detail in it that says the date I bought it and the quantity and the buy price. And I've also added the cross lines across the chart. This is one tool in BullCharts. It's pale green and it's dotted here. And vertically it indicates the date that I bought, 4th of April, and the horizontal line indicates the price. And the price there was $50.90. I've also got a line drawn at a support level, just above $49.50, $49.60, and indicated that about there is my initial stop. So those sorts of details I put onto this particular chart, and if I had some analysis items on the same chart, it would get cluttered. So the default method of doing this in BullCharts is simple and easy, but sometimes all of this stuff on the chart gets a bit cluttered and complicated. I've mentioned storing text and lines and things on the chart, and sometimes what I do is I refer to these as chart annotations. And you might be wondering, what are we talking about when we talk about annotations on the chart? And here's a list of the things that we can be calling annotations. And in BullCharts, the IntelliCharts feature remembers all of these things. Now, the annotations can be text, small bits of text or large blocks of text, short text strings in boxes or no boxes. It might be a trend line or a channel line. Could be lines with arrows. We might have vertical lines or the crosshairs like I had on the last slide. We might have a Fibonacci retracement or a Fibonacci extension drawn, or maybe some Gann study tools. Or we might have plonked some symbols or icons. Now there are a number of symbols, and here's a set of them on the screen here. All of these symbols or icons are available to plonk on the chart to help indicate specific features that you might want to note for reference later on. All of these things are what we're referring to as annotations, and as I said, BullCharts IntelliCharts can remember all of these for us. Let's have a look at another chart, another situation. In this sample, we're having a look at the CBA that we bought earlier. We're now monitoring the position weekly, and we've got a trailing stop loss, and we want to adjust it over time so that as price rises, we want to keep pulling the trailing stop loss up under the price. So we're doing this weekly, some more analysis, looking at the stop, reviewing where it is, and what we really want to do is record our observations. Or if we lift the trailing stop, we want to make a note of where it was and where it's going to be. So let's have a look at a slide, which is one possible way to do that. So in this price chart of CBA, we can see that the price was about $53. And the horizontal red lines, the short red lines here, indicate the trailing stop loss levels as time goes by. So every week, what I've done is I've simulated here reviewing of the price action in the last week and lifting the stop as appropriate. Now, with a chart like this and these text boxes and the horizontal lines and that blue dotted triangle, which is the trend ruler, and the trend ruler tells us that it's gone up over 9%, $4.80 over 49 days, 32 bars. So all of these things, these annotations, these elements, they can all be saved automatically by BullCharts in the IntelliCharts feature. But once again, those annotations with all the others that might be on the chart might make it very complicated. Now, in your own use, you might have found that or you might not. Maybe you've not yet started to put all of these sorts of things on the chart because it gets messy. Anyway, there's a number of things we could do to add annotations to the chart, some uses. Here are some notes about recording those sorts of things. So let's have a quick look at them. And note that some charting software packages, like BullCharts, will automatically remember the annotations. In BullCharts, as I mentioned, that's the IntelliCharts feature. In some other charting tools, there are limitations. Things like you can only have one chart open for each stock, not multiple charts open for the same stock. Another possible limitation is that the annotations might be forced to apply across all time periods. So maybe you can't have a different set of annotations on a daily chart compared with the weekly or with the monthly. In BullCharts, the default is to have those sorts of limitations, but there are other things we can do to work around them. Now in BullCharts, there's more than one way to record annotations. With IntelliCharts turned on, there's another option, and we'll get to that in a minute, or we can turn it off and save the file, save the chart as a file, just like you might save a word processing document in a word processor or save a spreadsheet in a spreadsheet tool. In BullCharts, we can actually save the chart and its annotations. The other feature in BullCharts is the Chart Memo feature, and I'll show you that in a moment as well. In BullCharts, we can have multiple charts open for each stock. So we're not limited to one. We can have several. And we can have different analyses and different annotations for different time periods. So let's have a quick look at how we do those things. Firstly, note that BullCharts using the IntelliCharts feature is quite easy and straightforward. It's automatically enabled by default, but you can turn it off. And in a moment I'll show you how to turn it off. If you haven't realized that IntelliCharts is the feature that will automatically remember the annotations you've put on your chart. Now it stores those in a small separate text file, one separate file for each stock. So if you've been looking at 10 or 20 charts and you've put annotations on each of the charts, you will have 10 or 20 little text files, IntelliCharts files, one for each stock. Now that's all easy and straightforward if you've got simple analysis, or if the same analysis and comments applies across multiple time periods. If it doesn't, if that's not the case, then we need Plan B. And Plan B is straightforward. A lot of people don't use it, but it's possible. So let's have a quick look at it. Firstly, the advanced feature in BullCharts using IntelliCharts. And this is something a lot of people don't realize. For those of you who do use IntelliCharts, what you might have wanted to do is have a daily chart of a stock and a weekly chart of the same stock and different comments or annotations on those two charts. And you can do that by turning on this second option in IntelliCharts. Save different IntelliCharts for each time period. Save different ones for each time period. Now this is behind the menu option, Tools, Preferences and the IntelliCharts tab. And the first checkbox, Use IntelliCharts, is usually ticked. All you need to do is tick the second one as well. And then you'll have separate IntelliCharts saved for each of those time periods. Now Plan B. If you've got situations that are a little bit more complex, then Plan B is as follows. First of all, turn IntelliCharts off. Then do your analysis and annotate the chart as normal. Then use the menu option, and here's the menu here shown. Use the menu option, File and Save it as a file, just like you'd save a word processing document. This then saves the annotations and the layout and indicators into a special BullCharts file. And the next time you open this file, the latest data is displayed, that's the latest price data is displayed, and all of the saved annotations and indicators are added to the chart. So it's fairly straightforward. If you make some changes, you then need to save the updated chart. There's another way to store just plain text with a stock in BullCharts, and that is to use the Chart Memo feature that pops up at the bottom of the window. And you can enable that from the menu option View, Show Chart Memo, or Control W. That'll pop up a space at the bottom where you can type any sort of text that you like. So in summary, what we can do is we can have IntelliCharts in its simple form, or IntelliCharts with the extra option, save different IntelliCharts for different time periods. We can have that enabled, or we can turn it all off and save the file, and we can also use the Chart Memo feature. So there you go. depending on the analysis and the charting tools, it can be easy to record details and view them later. And happy to take any questions. I'll take a breath and have a drink.
Robert, in the memo, do you can you copy a chart into the memo or not? You can only copy in annotations or words. Is that right?
That's right, David. Yes. I'll show you on here. I've just hit Control W on my BullCharts window to enable this pane at the bottom, and it's a case of just type text in there. Can you paste something meaningful in there? You might be able to paste something. It might not be any text.
Yeah.